Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby here with America Ferrera from Barbie. And this movie, for all of the big set pieces and musical numbers, I think one of the most impactful moments is your monologue about how impossible it is to be a woman in the world. And I am so curious what your reaction was when you first read that piece.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. When I mean, it obviously was um, the kind of pinnacle of this woman's journey, and I think for me, reading the script, like right away, I was laughing and having a blast and thinking this is weird and bizarre and crazy. Um, but when I met Gloria, I just felt like all of a sudden there was like a deep heart connection and just on a personal level, an entryway into this world, right? Of being a real life adult human, feeling like, oh my gosh, we exist in this world and our perspective and our experiences exist in this world. And immediately I loved her for Barbie and I loved Barbie for her. And I wanted them to kind of find each other and give each other what they most needed, at that in the journey of the story. So right away, I felt like Gloria brought so much, just I think depth and the real woman's experience to the film. The way that she was described on the page, if I'm remembering correctly, was like it was through her bright pink shoes. It was like close, like page 30 or something, like close up on a pair of bright pink sneakers. Uh, you know, Pan out to find Gloria. You love her immediately, and it's true. I did love her immediately, and she's this adult woman in this very clinical black and white Mattel world, and she's got this like sparkle to her that's sort of hidden and under the table. And I just thought right away introducing her as someone who's hiding a bit of who she is in this otherwise like very corporate and dominant world. It made me love her right away and felt like the character build happened so immediately on the page. And so by the time I got to that monologue, it's, I was cheering for Gloria, um, because it's a moment for her. It's something she needs as much as the Barbies need it. And I just think that Greta loves writing for women and she loves writing for real adult women. And as a real adult woman, it was really exciting to get to have that perspective in this fun, beautiful, bright world and have it be the thing that grounds Barbie in the real world. I think we all assumed that she was coming in to find a little girl. It's what she assumes, it's what everyone assumes.
Mhm.
And yet, the kind of deep emotional intelligence of Greta and Noah to to let more of us in by making it about this grown woman's relationship to the doll complicates it far more than one would imagine, right? And so I just felt like Gloria was such a an unexpected surprise and really a grounding force in the movie. And I was so honored that Greta wanted me to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that moment, so many people are talking about it, and I think it resonates at least for me because in a very stylized movie, you go to Barbie Land, you're literally in a rainbow room. It's this moment of really beautiful simplicity. Was it difficult to perform it in that manner when you're surrounded by Barbie
Yeah,
Land?
absolutely. Good catch. Yes, and we shot all of the Barbie Land stuff before the real world stuff. So I hadn't yet had a strong anchor in like, who is this woman in the real world? We sort of just, I think the first moment I shot was on the speedboat going like the transition into Barbie Land. And I'm like, wait, what's the tone of this? It was like trying to figure it out and be like, what is a real human being in Barbie Land? And we had that conversation with Greta, and she's like, it is sort of like stepping into like, a classic stage musical where everybody sort of talks in a way that only exists in this world, and you're still human and you're more human than the dolls, but still like you're going to be transformed by the magic of the place. So it was an interesting place to have to start. But yes, it was complicated to kind of figure out how do I stay human in this world that is intoxicating and really makes you want to, you know, join the fun, right? But that was the task. And then, particularly in that moment with the monologue, I remember kind of assuming that there would be a tempering of the tone, you know, that yes, the words were kind of very raw and very direct and very um, real, but that, you know, we'd get a take or two that was just softer or funnier or lighter or a little bit more Barbie landish, you know, thinking like that it would need to kind of you know, match the tone of Barbie Land. And Greta didn't want that. Greta wanted it to feel real. She wanted this to be the most human moment in Barbie Land, where you know, it's interesting that Gloria sort of goes on this journey to re-enchant her life. I mean, one of my favorite lines is when Sasha says, like, Mom, like, you're gonna take your tween daughter to Barbie Land, and she's like, yes, and you want to know why? Because I never get to do anything. Like, I just love that this woman is like, I will have fun come hell or high water, even if we're going to Barbie Land. And then she sort of enters Barbie Land to re-enchant her life, and is met instead with like, you know, the sobering reality of like, even here, even here, these truths exist. And that in a way she becomes even more human and more kind of dropped in and truthful to who and what she is in this pretend world. And so that was a surprise to me. It was actually surprising to me that Greta wanted it to feel real. And to be honest, I had no idea how that would come off, you know,
Hmm.
in the overall tone of the film. And we did do it like a lot of different ways. I don't know the exact count. It felt like 30 to 50 times top to bottom. We shot it for 2 days because it was a big scene with a lot of actors, and we did it a bunch of different ways. Like, you know, there were takes where there were a lot more tears, where there was a lot more laughter, cynical laughter, of course. You know, we did it a bunch of ways, but we never aimed for like the truth light, or like the truth, but like the Barbie Land truth. She just wanted it to feel real. And that gave me a lot of freedom, uh, to just get to keep dropping into the truth of it.
Yeah. You mentioned her daughter before, and it's interesting because your character is sort of in love with Barbies. They both have very opposite relationships to them, right? And her daughter calls her a fascist, calls Barbie a fascist. And it's one of those movies, one of those moments in the movie where I just was like, I can't believe Mattel's going to let Greta get away with all this. Were there moments like that you thought, oh, this isn't going to make it to the final
Yeah,
edit?
I mean, that was my first thought when I finished reading the script, was like, they're not gonna, like, are they really gonna let her make this? There was a lot that felt like, you know, we'll see what survives. But yeah, I think that, you know, okay, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, like, Gloria being in love with Barbie. Um, it's funny because I don't know if you know, there's like a whole thing on the internet about people shipping Barbie and Gloria, and that they're really like in a romance.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And you know what? I like, they're not wrong in that there is like a deep like love and connection. Obviously, there's that moment when they like see each other, and like it's the romance moment. It's the moment of like finding the soulmate, and the camera, you know, pushing in. And we did talk about Gloria and Barbie's relationship as a romance, in that like they're looking for each other and they need each other, and then they find each other, and of course they get what they need, but it's not what they thought they needed. So you know, for the Barbie Gloria shippers, you know, I feel like they're on to a piece of it, like onto something. Um, and the relationship with Sasha, you know, I think it's brilliant because it works in the literal sense of like a mother and a daughter's relationship, and a daughter kind of pushing back against things that her mother values and that her mother loves, and that feels very literal. And I think also it's a little bit about Gloria's relationship to her younger self. I think that um, part of what I think the character of Gloria is exploring is like the permission to love what you love, to value something even if it's imperfect, and one of the main inspirations, not main inspiration, like one thing that helped me really understand Gloria was when I watched this documentary on Hulu called Tiny Shoulders, which is a fun documentary. I recommend it if you're interested in the Barbie world. One of my biggest questions in approaching Gloria was sort of, you know, what makes this woman love Barbie so much? And really, I didn't want to make Gloria a joke, being that she's this, adult grown woman who is, you know, are we supposed to think she's insane because she thinks Barbie's real? Or are we supposed to think that she's, naive or just, kind of a little crazy? And when I watched the Tiny Shoulders documentary, I saw that there was this lead designer woman who was pushing for the expansion of Barbie from this one prototype stereotype Barbie into what Greta calls the singularity, that she became many shapes, sizes, colors, and 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 this was an adult, smart, intelligent, progressive, serious businesswoman who kind of got pushed back on all sides. Like the institution of Barbie was pushing back on changing anything that was about her legacy. And then also in her own personal life, her friends who were feminists and progressives were giving her, crap too, of like, you're a feminist. Why do you care about what happens to Barbie? Why do you want to be a part of moving this narrative and this brand into the 21st century? And for her, the key was her memories of playing with Barbie with her mother. And she had this picture of her and her mom on her desk playing with Barbie in the Barbie dream house. And I felt like that was such a beautiful and human complication, that when we're young, we love the things we love, and we don't have to like validate it or argue for it. We just love what we love. And then we grow up and learn that things are imperfect, right? And we go through a Sasha phase of like, this is all about capitalism, and this is, and this is all about making women feel bad about themselves, which are real feelings that a lot of people have had about Barbie, um, myself included. And 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 then and then we find Gloria, who's at a phase in her life where she does love what she loves, but because it's imperfect, doesn't feel the permission to love it, And yet, on the inside, she loves it, she values it. And I feel like that was such a beautiful thing to explore personally and also culturally, the that we can love and value things that are not perfect, and that we can want things that we love to get better and to evolve and to change, and that we don't have to sort of, the way we do, particularly when we are coming out of childhood and learning that things aren't perfect, we don't have to literally and figuratively throw things away because they aren't what we imagine them to be, And so I thought that was a really important piece of grounding the character and making her a real woman for me. That ultimately what she's fighting for is not Barbie, but it's fighting for the permission to just be what she is. Why can't I just love the things that I love? And why do I have to validate that to everybody, like a million other things that we have to explain about ourselves? So I can't remember your question, but that's where it took me.
Yeah, that's great. No, definitely appreciating the things in a new way, kind of as you grow older.
Yeah.
It's great. Well, before I have to let you go, we keep track of all awards here at Gold Derby, and you had quite a run for Ugly Betty when you won so many awards. But you had the Emmy, the Golden Globe, the SAG, all. I don't know. I think you were in your early 20s, like 23 at that point. When you look back on that period now, what do those experiences and all that recognition mean to you? Speaking of appreciating things in a different way as you grow older.
Yeah, totally. It was such a dreamlike fog. I truly, it, I loved being on Ugly Betty. I loved the character. I loved the people I got to work with. I loved the story. It was like, I just loved and appreciated and knew how special it was in the moment. And so, I think that for it to be literally my first television role, like regular television role, I had done films before that. I think that at the time it felt like, oh, well, if you love something and it's great, then everyone will see that it's great, and everyone will agree with you. which is like which is very much what happened with Betty. I'm like, this is amazing, she's the best, the world is going to love this, and then that's exactly what happened. And I feel like that kind of set me up with really unrealistic expectations, where now I can look back and be like, I knew that it was special in the moment. It wasn't like I thought, oh, this happens every day. But I guess at the time, being so young and being, still, even though I'd been working since I was 17, very new to television, like feeling like that those things always align, that if you, speaking of value, that if you value something and you love something and you see how special it is, then others will too. And I feel like that isn't always the case, and something that I experienced later on in my career. And kind of looking back at like, wow, that, like, with even more appreciation than I already had, that I got to be a part of something so beautiful. And we had the added bonus of like other people loving it and finding it beautiful too. And it's so awesome that like all these years later, Ugly Betty's like being watched by people who weren't even born when we first made the show, and that they're still enjoying it and it still seems relevant.
Well, it's incredible. It's wonderful that people are also appreciating Barbie. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sitting down to discuss it with me. And everyone watching, make sure you subscribe to Gold Derby America. Thank you so much. Great to talk to you.
Thanks, Sam. Have a good one.